Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Dark Art Society podcast. I'm Chet, and I'm the host, of this podcast. Got a great episode for you today. Actually, the next two episodes are great, and today's episode is artist Britton, and next week is their twin sibling, Rachel. And both of these guests are our first non-binary artists we've had on the show, which is really interesting. Of course, I fucked up the pronouns a few times because I'm still getting used to it, but I swore I wasn't going to do it, and then I did it. It's hard to get used to. It's different. But what a great interview. Both were excellent. Both interviews were excellent. Both of them are extremely talented. Early in their careers, but really, really talented. So had a great talk with Kay, and that will be coming up shortly. So, what's been going on with me, you ask? Got a book, the Dystopia book is done and out of my hands, which is amazing. I don't know what the last status I gave. I think it was something along the lines of it being just about finished. But it's like I paid them the first half. I signed the contract with the bookmaker. We handed the files off. It's done. It's out of our hands. And delivery date for me is supposed to be November 13th. Is the estimate. So that's done. I can't believe it. It really hasn't even hit me yet. It kind of was anticlimactic in a way. You know, because I don't know. It's just, it was such a long, drawn-out, stressful process. But it's done. It's done. That and I had a portrait commission that was 5 years late. Both of those were the two huge projects weighing me down, and I got that done too. So, and it doesn't feel much different though. I thought I'd be all relieved, but I guess there's just so much going on. I've been painting for my solo show at Copro that opens October 19th, and that is the Chaos. It's called Chaos, and I've been painting for that every day. Been enjoyable. Everything's coming along well with that. And what else? Let's see. That's been the primary focus other than those book things. I should prepare for these more. I just don't have time though. I'm just constantly. Oh, I know one thing. Man Hands Dan Kelly is putting on an art show that I believe is at the end of October, and it's going to be a Dark Art Society cooperative art show. It's going to feature a ton of artists from the Dark Art Society cooperative, as well as other dark artists, but he's got an amazing list. It's his gallery is let me look. It's Snake and sorry Dan. Snake and Skull and Snake is the name of his shop, and it's called Dawn of the Dark Art Society. And it's just going to be a great show. It's cool to finally have the Dark Art Society cooperative members show, rather than the one we did at Copro, or I think we did two at Copro, which was the kind of the guest Dark Art Society guest show. So that's exciting. Dan was just putting a show together, and he's recently just discovered the Dark Art Society podcast, and he's so into it, and he's so into the whole dark art scene, and he's in a position to where he can help the scene, and he's all about it. And he had this idea, hey, what if we turn this show into a Dark Art Society cooperative show? I was like, that sounds great. And he's Dan is one of these guys that come along every so often that, sorry about the snoring dog, can you hear that? I swear there she goes. Every once in a while, people come into your life that are there for the right reasons, and they really want to help you. And it's important to recognize that when it comes along, because it doesn't come along too often. And I really feel like Dan is one of those people regarding the entire dark art society and the dark art community. His heart's in the right place, and he really wants to, help the movement, which is just excellent. So I'm kind of excited about that show. What else is there? Maybe that's it. Well, that's all I can think of. Isn't that enough, though, really? If you want to join the Dark Art Society, I need to make a clarification here as well, because I have two Patreons. I've got one for the Dark Art Society, and then I've got my own personal one. And sometimes people join mine, and they're like, hey, where's the Dark Art Society Cooperative on Facebook? And I have to tell them, oh, I'm sorry, that's for the other Patreon. So my Patreon is different from the Dark Art Society Patreon. Dark Art Society Patreon, if you want to be involved, it's a great community, and there's so many opportunities for people. Like Dan is a great example of that, just want to be a part of it and want to help make it happen. So it's very nurturing environment as well. So you can go to patreon.com/darkartsociety. It's only $1 a month. It's really just, the bare minimum, just to, keep it from people who don't care at all, or just, casual people that aren't really that into it. They won't pay $1. And then you get into the Facebook group, which is great, the Dark Art Society Cooperative. And my Patreon is where I'm posting everything I'm working on all the time. Every time I finish a painting session, I post it. I do time lapses and tutorials and all kinds of other stuff, although I haven't been doing them the last month or so because I'm just cranking on this show. But I am posting updates, and when I'm done with this show, I'm going to have probably 20 time-lapse videos for the studies, and then another 15 to 20 for the painting. So there's going to be a lot more content, but I'm always posting every day. Anyway, that's patreon.com/ChetZar if you want to join that, and that also has the $1 level you can join at. So I guess that's it. Let's read new subscribers, because we have a bunch of new subscribers to the Patreon, the Dark Art Society Patreon. Let's see. Randall Perkins told me that Chris Badenoch is who we left off with. So thanks again, Randall. Randall is the keeper of records for the podcast. The official keeper of records. Christopher Weldy, thank you for joining. Let's see what else. Gibberosis upped their pledge. Thanks for that. That's cool. Ryan Case upped his pledge in a big way. Wow, Ryan. Everybody check out Ryan's work. I love what Ryan does. He has a totally unique look, particularly in the Dark Art Society or the Dark Art movement. He's dark, but his stuff is totally different. Crazy colors, and I just totally love his style. And finally, we have Josh Gamble. Thanks, Josh. Thanks for joining. I also had, I should mention, I got every once in a while I'll get a message about the Dark Art Society and the podcast and what it means to people. And I just saw one today from like a week ago that I missed. And it's pretty amazing to hear that people are getting so much out of it. It's weird for me being in this position because I just do the podcast as part of my routine because I don't have time to really think about it and do all kinds of promotion and marketing and this and that. I'm just kind of doing what I could barely manage. But at the end of every podcast, I always think to myself, this podcast is so good. Just judging on what I would like to listen to, I'm like, I can't believe how good this podcast is. It's amazing. I think that all the time. It's kind of amazing. It's not like every 10 episodes there's a good interview. It's like every episode is great. It's a trip. And for something that just kind of started on a whim, it's really amazing what it's turned into. And especially when I get messages from people that tell me that it's like life-changing for them. I never expected that. Really, I never did. And that, reminds me why I need to keep doing it. So I'm going to keep doing it. There's so many more artists to interview. It's just, I feel like I'll never run out. Every day there's more people that are doing dark art. It's great. So, which means the scene is growing. Okay, so anyway, I guess that's it. The synesthesia word of the week. I'm going to I want to do this one because I thought of it the other day. And it kind of makes sense. It's one of those words that sounds like the thing it tastes like, but I never thought about it in 54 years. I never thought about it until like 2 days ago. That happens all the time. I think of new synesthesia words, or I realize I have these new synesthesia words. And if you don't know what my synesthesia is, it's gastro-lexical or something like that. And words and names have flavors to me. Doesn't make a lot of sense. And the word of the week, the synesthesia word of the week, is freedom. And it's a strong one too. And it tastes like Fritos. I mean, it's kind of obvious why I would make that association, but it's not just that I make the association. It's that instantly that's the flavor that comes to mind. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. I know. If you don't have it, it doesn't make any sense, but it's so dumb. If it's annoying, let me know and I'll stop doing it. Some people seem to be entertained by it. So that's why I do it. Anyway, okay, let's get on with this interview with Britton. It's a great one. Hope you enjoy it. Here we go. Three. Oh, I was gonna count. I was gonna give you the count, but I started recording. What's up, Kay? Hello.
Hello.
And Rachel is there too.
Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. How are you? This is gonna be the entire episode is just us laughing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry about having to reschedule. I got my computer situation worked out. I just bought 2 hard drives. The hard drives are like this big nowadays. It's crazy. Yeah. These little solid state. And so I backed everything up, made some space. That's why we're doing this, for the people listening. We're doing this today and not 4 days ago because my computer kept crashing. Anyway. So, yeah, I'm happy to have you on. Thanks for coming on the show. I love your work. Amazing. Both of you are super talented. I tell you all the time.
I basically we both pay you to hype us up.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. That's the way it works. People are finally figuring it out. If you want to get ahead in this world, you gotta pay me.
Yeah. Chet is the hype man. Yeah.
No. I only have people on that I'm interested in that I think are interesting and good artists, and I'm not sure when I became aware of your work, Kay, but I know it's funny because the first thing, probably your drag stuff, but the thing that I remember that I still talk to you about all the time are those paintbrush earrings.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably for you was just like, I'll make these cool little things, but I still think that's just like a totally brilliant idea. I can't believe it's not like a thing that everybody does.
Yeah, I am, we still talk to our high school art teachers, and I think we visited a couple of years ago. We, donated a bunch of old supplies to them a couple of years ago, and he had all these shitty paintbrushes from shitty students. I was like, okay, well, can I have these? And I'll just, chop them up and turn them into earrings, and he was like, yeah, go for it. And I had them in my Etsy for so long and none of them like ever sold.
Uh-huh.
And then I just, in the past like 2 months, I've done a couple tabling things for my illustration stuff. And I just thought, like, I'll just bring them just for fun. And I have sold like 3 or 4 pairs every single vending thing I've done.
Yeah, it's great.
What if it's one of those things where, like, you're working on other random shit and then, like, you drop an earring back and it happens to land right next to the paintbrush thing and you look up and you're like, oh my god, that's a brilliant idea. Great idea. Like, that's it.
That's right. Well, hey, timing is so important. It's so important. I mean, I was so ahead of my time. I can't even tell you. But seriously, there's been a few times. Usually, I'm like late to the party. I'm late to the party with all the bands I like. You know, so many things I get like after it's already out of style. I discover it and then I get into it. But you know, like my I did a Ouija board show back in a long time ago, and you know, it didn't sell anything. It was not popular. It was, and now it's like everybody does a Ouija board show. There's all kinds of spirit board shows. Just and my Disturb the Normal DVD, those animations, which are like, you know, if NFTs were a thing, I'd be a millionaire right now. If NFTs were a thing in 2004, when I had to render everything at 720 by 486 resolution, so it played on a TV. You know, it's like so timing. You know, it's one thing to have a great idea. It's another thing to have a great idea and have it come out at the right time, not too early, not too late. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, so what I was saying, I have to do full disclosure. Both Kay and Rachel are mentorship people on my Patreon mentorship thing. Now, I don't have everybody on my mentorship on the podcast. I just think that you're both so talented that and interesting too. It's weird. I told you this from the beginning that as artists, you're like, you know, the complete package. Super seriously.
Pay you for.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Right here, this is what we pay you for.
I'm serious.
Keep going.
I'm serious. Super talented and then very interesting as people. So I just think that's how you sell art. You know, you make really good artwork and you have an interesting story behind it. Mm-hmm. And also, I have to say, it's a Dark Art Society podcast first. It's the first time we've ever had anybody who's non-binary on the show. So,
Yay!
Congratulations.
The first gay-ass motherfuckers up on here. Great. That's great.
Wait, I also want to point out, is this the first set of twins, too?
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. There's like layer and layer of interesting things about you.
Just setting trends here.
Oh my God.
Look at that. Stop. What about, photographers? Have you had photographers on before? I'd like to.
I don't think so. Oh,
okay.
No.
First gay photographer on the podcast.
The first drag artist, maybe?
Yeah.
I
think maybe it's hard.
Just off the list.
There's many firsts here. It's hard to remember because I've done so many podcasts at this point. And I do them. I do the work to edit them. I post them, and then I just don't think about them anymore ever again.
Yeah.
I do. You know, it's like part of it's like my day job now. Not that I don't enjoy doing it, but so I just thought that was something worth mentioning. And it's like, on one hand, it's like, you know, you want to make note of it and say that's cool. On the other hand, I was like, maybe they, you know, but it's so part of your. I mean, I think it's in both of your artistic statements, you know. So it's part of your art too. But I was going to say, on the other hand, I was thinking maybe I shouldn't make a big deal out of it because who gives a shit? That's the whole point of people being who they are, being non-binary, whatever. It's like, you know, nobody wants special rights as much as people, you know, on the other, you know, people that are kind of against it say that marginalized people want special rights. Everybody just wants the same rights as everybody else, and to kind of be left alone is the way it seems like to me, right?
Well, I'll let you in on a little secret, Chet. Okay. We're Leos, and we love attention.
Okay.
Bitch, you love attention.
Well,
so anyway, it's just I just felt like, you know what, it's timely. It's like this stuff is getting into mainstream culture, and so it's probably a good time to just make note of it and mention it, because it's a good thing. So
anybody's doing the non-binary thing nowadays. Yes.
Well, I was saying I think it was Kay. I was thinking about the concept of being non-binary and what a cool idea that is. It's just like conceptually, from like seeing it from an artist's point of view.
Yeah.
It's like it really feels like futuristic and cool. It's a trip. It's a trip. It's a crazy world we're living in. I love it. I was just telling my friend, I was telling Ryan Case the other day, it's like, it's such a great time to be alive. People are so bogged down with all the shit that's going on that we don't stop and think how amazing it is. How amazing it is that, you can be non-binary and, safer than you were a few years ago, even a few years ago. It's still there's a ways to go for sure. But, you can practice magic. You can talk about just about anything and no one's going to burn you at a stake. It's kind of amazing. Anyway, enough of me blabbering. So anyway, you talk about your work, Kay. Like you do so much. You do so much stuff. You get your turn next week. Talk about your work.
Yeah, you want us to skedaddle then?
You can hang out. You're welcome to hang out. You two are like
a little bit, Kaylee.
God no.
You're like two peas in a pod. It's all good with me. The focus is on Kay, just because this is her episode. Unless you want to make this both your episode.
This is their episode.
I'm sorry. This is their episode.
I'm going to start getting a megaphone and like, Chet, they.
Hey, it's new to me. It's still new to me. It's like.
I know. I'm fucking around. I really don't mind.
I know. Yeah, we've talked about that before as well.
You're learning and you're putting in a good effort, and that's what matters.
That's what counts, really. Is just to try, because it's. I'm sure non-binary people, when they first come out as non-binary, forget.
I have no clue.
Because it's cultural, it's everywhere. The he, she thing is just, it's part of deep in the culture,
I misgender myself. It happens.
I fuck up Kay's pronouns all the time.
It happens.
There you go. I love that.
Yeah, it really does happen. Like, I'll just be like, I'm turning into a cisgender woman now, like just being an idiot. But like, I do that shit all the time, so it's no big deal. It happens, As long as you like, you're learning, you accept it, correct yourself, and move on. That's what you got to do. So
yeah, exactly.
But yeah, as a little bit of a description, so I am Kay Britton. I have like 12 artist names and counting.
That's true.
And
what?
And counting.
And counting. And
yeah, maybe you should list the names off first, because some people might know you as a different name.
Yeah, so I have a twin sibling who's also a non-binary artist. They are a photographer and a drag artist, blah, blah, blah. We'll talk about them next week. This is my time to shine.
Oh, my God.
And we also, just as a side note, we also have a triplet. Just thought I'd squeeze that in there, too.
Yeah, that's another totally crazy thing. Now, is this triplet super talented also?
He's very talented. He's
He's very into cooking and video games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he would do really good in like game art and stuff, but I don't think he would necessarily call himself an artist, so yeah.
But he's very very, very talented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Well, you can leave whenever you want. Great. Bye.
Bye. I'll talk to you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Bye, bitch. See ya. There's the door.
I'm hungry. I want my chicken chili, damn it.
So
Not the
apparently, you both live together.
We do live together, yes.
Yes.
So, I am a fine artist, illustrator, and drag artist. So my fine art name, we've talked about this a gajillion times, but I'm in between names as a non-binary person. So right now it's kind of in between K Britton and Noni Britton. I'll accept either, but I'm whatever. It doesn't matter. My illustration shop is Decaylee. That's like my illustration name, or Decaylee Shop is like my handle. And then my drag name used to be Salem Massacre. And then over time, I think as I came out as non-binary, I kind of realized that I don't want to do drag as like one character at all times. And so every time I do drag, I get dressed up as a different character that I design through the makeup process, if that kind of makes sense. And so my drag name is The Mannequin, but every time I do drag, I have a different drag name, if that makes sense.
Okay. Yeah, it's like a marketing nightmare.
Yeah, I do what I can. I like to keep people on their toes.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Another first for me with you was, maybe you remember me saying, is that I wasn't really interested in drag. Just never really clicked with me until I saw your drag. I was like, oh, I get it. That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
It's amazing. Your drag is amazing. It's so good.
Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I'm drawn to so many like different mediums, but I know that over time I've been like, well, maybe I should like trim back or like cut down, and those were the three things that I was like, I don't think I can get rid of any of them. Like
those are the ones that you stick with. Is the ones that just won't let you go.
Yeah, I feel very solid and secure in like drag, illustration, and fine art, and I think it helps me to be able to just jump around from different things. It helps like my creative brain work. So it helps me to have just like different venues of creativity that I can like, okay, I'm sick of drawing, I'm gonna jump on Photoshop and like color in like something, and then I'm sick of that, okay, I'm gonna do a drag look, or whatever. So
right. Yeah, I don't think it's uncommon. I hear this a lot with artists, and it's true for me as well. I'm interested in music and computer animation, and a lot of artists I know are just creative people in general, so they like to learn a lot of different things. And for me, it was a concerted effort to focus on oil painting only. It was like I had to make myself do it, and You're still, you're years before I was at that point. You're young, so you can, you can still do that. It's like I'm getting to the point where I'm old enough that I can start doing that again. Like establish myself as an oil painter that now I can do side things. And kind of like, oh, it's an interesting little side thing I'm doing. But the thing is, your graphite work is off the hook. Amazing. I mean, this drawing behind you.
Oh, this old thing.
This little thing, this 5-foot drawing that you cranked out. That little thing.
Yeah, no big deal. No big deal.
That should be
something I did over the weekend.
That should be the cover, I think.
I agree with
this
you.
episode, because this piece is significant.
Yeah. I think it's marked like a turning point. It's marked a portion in my art journey. I think it's it's reestablishing myself as a fine artist, because I did, after I graduated college, and for probably like 2 years after I like stopped doing fine art for a while, and I had stopped doing self-portraits for a really long time. So I think I got back into drawing last year, actually. I think it was like either it was December of like 2019 or something, or maybe it was a little bit earlier than that, but not super far off that I started drawing again. So I took a little bit of a break, but I think for being like back into drawing again and having done this a year after being, back into art, I think it just marks a very significant point in my art career. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
it's crazy that that's the piece you did to.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the main reason I'm having you on the podcast is it's like, you're one of those rare exceptions of someone who's really early on in their career and they're just like fully formed artistically. Not to say you're not going to grow and change and all that, but what you're doing now is solid. It's like, Lori Lipton is the first person that comes to mind as far as the league you're in. And Lori Lipton sells her shit for a lot of money in blue chip galleries, and I think your work is on that level. So
Chet, I appreciate that.
It's true. I'm always telling you what a fan I am.
Yeah. Not to brag here, folks, but Chet is a fan of my work, so step aside, pal. Yeah.
So let's hear about, give us your life story in a nutshell. I mean, when did you start your art journey, and were you the art kid and all that stuff I always ask people on this show?
Well, it was a foggy day on August 9th, 1696. Let me really paint the picture for you. So,
set the mood.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yep. We and Rachel, we've always been artsy kids. I'm gonna say we a lot because me and Rachel have done a lot of our art journey together.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. That's it's a trip because, like I said, you're both, you're kind of like you're like twins in that way. That's why I was surprised to find out you were triplets because you seem very, very close.
Yes, yeah. Me and Rachel are definitely up each other's ass all the time.
Okay, so anyway, continue.
Yeah, so, foggy day. So we were born, actually, we don't live too far away from the hospital we were born at, which was interesting to me, but, so we grew up the first couple of years of our lives with our siblings and our parents in Muskegon, Michigan, and then we moved down to Soddy Daisy, Tennessee.
Oh.
And so we grew up, our early childhood was in Tennessee.
Wow, was that conservative? Was it conservative there?
But from what I remember, I don't think we were super oddballs at the time. Because it was just early childhood until we were 9, I think.
Okay.
So I don't remember it being super conservative because I think how weird can you be early childhood?
Yeah, right.
We were artsy though. We were always dabbling in things though. But yeah, early childhood was in Soddy Daisy, Tennessee. We, Christian. We'd go to church every week. It was funny though because our parents they were this is just a funny weird fact, but my dad is super into heavy metal and my mom
really
and our mom she's into metal too, but she was also into pop music too. So it was funny because after church every week there were certain, we couldn't listen to Slayer or anything, but we could listen to Chevelle and censored Metallica CDs and shit. So every week, like after church, it's a very beautiful memory that we'd always listen to like Chevelle on the way back from church. Because it was like the heaviest that our parents could listen to without it like crossing the line and being like too disturbing or anything. But yeah, we grew up in Tennessee, super like nature-y environment. We were always playing outdoors. We were super artsy, and we always were like, you know, we'd be outdoors like or on the playground and stuff, and we'd make like little fairy huts and stuff like out of sticks and stones and stuff on the playground. Yeah, and then when we were 9, we moved back to Muskegon, and we were in Muskegon all through high school, and then we were always artsy there too, always like doodling in class and shit. And in high school, Rachel and I were, for our senior year of high school, we were both elected for mock elections, the female most artistic.
Oh, wow.
A lot of our classmates couldn't tell us apart, so they just wrote down the Britton twins. So
funny.
Because I was in like the AP art classes, and I think I took AP art for 2 years technically. I think I took it like junior year and senior year, and I was always in like, you know, maxing out my art classes every, you know, chance I could. Rachel was in photography, but they didn't have like, they had photography classes, but they weren't like generally, they didn't coincide with like the art program. So I wanted to get most artistic, but we were both voted most artistic.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Was there a competition there since you're both artists?
A little bit. I think with twins, we've always had like, there's like a healthy competition, but I think when it gets unhealthy is like comparing yourself to the other twin, which seems to be more of a problem I have than Rachel does, to be completely honest.
Okay.
Yeah. I think Rachel has had a lot of successes over the past year with getting into shows and publications and things, which is awesome and amazing. And I think I think after like the whole story of like the grant thing that happened. So I think I had like a little bit of a low period where I was like, you know, I don't know if this is working out for me. Like, and I felt, I felt bad about like art stuff, and I felt bad like my art wasn't not worth it. But you know, as an artist, like you get your periods of like, you know, like I'm not that good. Like, what am I doing? I have no idea what I'm doing with my life.
I get that once in a while still.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's normal. You just can't let it stop you or drag you down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in high school, we were like the artsy kids, and in college, I remember I fumbled a lot in college my first like year because I was like, I don't know if I want to be an artist. I don't know if this is what I want. And so I remember my freshman year, my winter semester of freshman year, I was like, okay, I'm going to not take any art classes and just see how that feels. And by the end of the semester, I was like, if I'm not taking art classes, there's no reason for me to be in college. So that's what solidified that.
Wow.
Okay,
so you weren't solidly, as a little kid, like, I'm definitely going to be an artist when I grow up. You were sort of just, that was just what you naturally did, and it didn't solidify until college.
It was what I did, and I remember in high school, I knew, like, I'm going to go to college for art, but I think after my first semester, I just dealt with a lot of depression, and I think that first semester just, like, it really, it hindered me in a lot of ways, I think, and I think I've told you this before, but like I had a set way of doing things for my art when I was in high school, and then all of a sudden you're like being thrown into foundations classes, and like not that you don't have your way of doing things, but it's like your instructors are trying to not disrupt it, but they're trying to get you to relearn basic art skills. So like line and color, conceptual thinking, all that. So I think my foundation classes, like, obviously disrupted the way I was doing things for good. I mean, I've learned a lot, obviously, through those foundation classes. But I think it disrupted the way that I was working and the work that I was doing before, because actually in high school I was doing, like, for my AP art class, I was doing self-portraits.
Wow.
And so just kind
even back then.
Yeah, even back in the day.
Interesting.
I'll have to show you some of the ones from high school.
Yeah, I'd love to see those.
Yeah, I used to be an oil painter, and then after college, I felt like I had to give it up, because, not in a bad way, because I do like oil painting, but something about doing drag makeup and it being like, it's kind of oil painty.
Oh, I've thought that. Yeah, since I come from that makeup background, makeup effects, and it's like, I remember when I first started painting in oils, I was like, oh, this feels just like grease paint.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so I think there was a weird, like, translation between, like, and my drag makeup is, like, very intense, it's very detailed, so I think there was something about translating doing makeup on my face, which is a 3D surface, and making it look like almost like a flat surface.
Yeah, it's kind of like you are an oil painter, but with drag makeup. It's a trip.
Yeah, but then, like, I can work in dry media just fine on paper, so I think there's just something about, like, I can't work in, like, wet media on a flat surface.
Oh, I see.
Right. I don't know. In college, that first year or whatever kind of, like, screwed me up. But then I realized, like, yes, like, I want to be an art student. Like, I know I want to be in the art program. So started doing art classes again in my second year. So I was in college for 5 years. My second year, I took more foundation classes, and then I think that winter semester of my second year, because I only had one foundation class, they were like, well, I guess you can just start taking art electives, because, like, this is your second year in the program. Technically, you're supposed to be in illustration classes already. So I took jewelry and metalsmithing. That winter semester, and blew my mind, loved it. It was amazing, and I think I won an award. Actually, I think I have the ring in my drawer that I won an award for that semester. And they have, like, a student art award at the end of each year, and they would just, like, nominate different artists and their whatever art they had, and I made this ring.
Can I take a picture of it?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Oh, wow. Hold on. That's cool. What kind of foot is that?
This is a gray squirrel paw.
Wow.
And then I had, like, you can see, like, the little, like, cast silver... casting grain, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then on the inside of the ring, I wrote Sciurus carolinensis, which is the scientific name of the gray squirrel.
Oh, cool. Where did you get the squirrel foot?
I used to be... I guess this is something I totally jumped over from high school, but in high school, I used to process roadkill.
For fun or as a job?
Yeah, for fun. I used to just, like...
Wow.
We lived on a dirt road, and so there was always, like, deer and raccoons and whatever. And so, I don't know, I think I was just, like, high school goth, and I was like, well, I have space in the backyard, so I was super infatuated with, like, anatomy and stuff. And so I started processing roadkill in our backyard.
Add another thing to the list of interesting things about you.
Yeah, to my mother's dismay, I was processing roadkill in her backyard. So
Wow, that did. This is a little aside thing for a second, but because I'm really interested in anatomy, I have tons of anatomy books and skinned bodies, and it's fascinating and interesting. And but did you have to? Was there like any kind of hurdle to like skinning a dead roadkill animal that you had to get over, or were you kind of like okay with it? It's like I know that people that do that for a living, it's not a big deal. Yeah. But every time I see something on a video on someone who's like doing an autopsy or something, they're just like, they're used to it. But I imagine at first it must be like kind of freaky, or no, maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah, I think I had been looking at because I used to watch the show Oddities.
Yeah, me too.
And that's kind of like what I'm sure a lot of people in the DAS used to watch Oddities. I loved that show, and so I think for me it was like it just comes with the territory. Like I don't know.
So you didn't get grossed out and like barf or anything on your first roadkill, or
no. I would always, I did like I don't know what you want to call it, like the natural way of doing things. So I would just like pick up roadkill with like, I'm telling you this, this is kind of embarrassing now. I had like a roadkill kit in my car.
Nothing wrong with that.
I like literally would have like Meyer bags, like extra Meyer bags in my trunk, a shovel, like whatever I needed. So if I needed to like just pick up, if I saw something that I liked, I would just pick it up really quick.
I love that.
My mom, every time, oh my God, she hated me. She was like, dude, I don't want roadkill in the fucking yard. God bless my mother. I love her.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I don't think it was that big of a deal to me because I've always been like interested in anatomy and like mortuary studies, things like that. Because for a while I thought like, well, maybe I'll do like forensics or maybe I'll do mortuary studies or something. But I've recognized that I'm interested in those things, but it's not what I want to do for my day job.
Right.
Yeah, I did roadkill processing and stuff. So that's how I have the gray squirrel paw.
Super cool.
And yeah, thank you. A lot of my old jewelry stuff, I forgot I had all this stuff. I put it in the side of my desk just like a couple of weeks ago and forgot about it. But I used to just do all my metalsmithing projects like with bones and bugs and things.
Oh, cool.
Let's see. If I can get this one untangled, I'll show you. Okay. I've just always been really interested in that type of stuff. So this one's like, this used to be a bracelet, and then I turned it into a necklace a while ago. But
wait, I want to take a picture.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's awesome.
I think this is a raccoon or a possum vertebrae, and then this is a little bit of my hair when I had hair in this little vial, and then this is like a mouse jaw or muskrat or something, I have no idea, and then like a little like chicken foot or something.
Nice.
I can't remember what all of them are, but I used to like, this is just the type of stuff I would do in my metalsmithing class, and they liked it.
You get good grades?
Yeah, I did. Metals was always like a good class for me. I really liked it. I think I only took like 3 classes, but I don't have like the money to get back into it, but I still have all my supplies, so I would like to eventually get back into metalsmithing because I really liked it.
Yeah, well, you do have jewelry in your Etsy shop, so you are doing it somewhat.
Yeah.
You just would like to do the full on metal working and
casting and
yeah.
I do. I really like it. But yeah, I took metalsmithing classes. I'm trying to think of. I had a lot of things happen in college, and trying to think what else. In college was when I started, because I actually used to do drag makeup like every Halloween in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll have to send you some of those photos too, because they're pretty atrocious. So
Cool.
I used to do drag in high school every Halloween, and then I discovered, I don't know how I discovered drag, but I know I came across it in like 2008 or something, so I don't know. And I started doing it every Halloween and like knew that it was something I wanted to do like professionally long term. But obviously you can't do drag shows as a high schooler. I suppose you could, but in my town, they didn't have drag shows for high schoolers. So, they had an amateur drag show every semester on campus in college. So I knew that I wanted to start doing it then. So I started hanging out with another drag queen student on campus, Ginger Ambrosia, and we're still friends now. And then Rachel would be our photographer, basically, because Rachel was taking photo classes.
Yeah.
So Rachel would like photograph myself, Ginger, and then our friend who we lived with, who again we're still friends with, and his drag name was Bika Lovelace. And so we all were like doing drag together, and Rachel would photograph. And so I think after like a year or two, we kind of convinced Rachel to be a drag king. So, so then Rachel started doing drag too. So, we're all friends still, and Rachel's still my photographer. So here we are.
Yeah, that's so cool.
Yeah, so I would do the drag shows on campus, and then like alongside doing like my fine art classes and stuff, but I actually enrolled in the illustration program at my school, which part of me looking back, I'm not mad that I did that, because I think it helped develop my illustration style, whereas I wasn't like, I never thought of myself as an illustrator. I always looked at myself as a fine artist, but who knew that I had both of them in me? So
yeah, I mean, I think taking illustration classes for, preparation to be a fine artist is actually better than what a lot of fine art programs taught, from what I've heard. Depending on the school, of course, but a lot of the I know people that went to college for fine art, and it was all like, the usual conceptual or abstract, or throw a bunch of stuff in a box, and no fundamentals or anything, and you got to know all that stuff in illustration. Yeah, absolutely. I never thought of myself as like a digital artist, and I don't consider myself a digital artist, but I think learning how to use digital tools like for illustration has really helped me. So for sure.
Like obviously like Photoshop, oh my God, I use it all the time.
Yep.
And like I use Illustrator every once in a while, but Photoshop, I am so glad I had classes on that, because I had no idea how to use it before,
Right. Yeah, it's invaluable.
Yeah. It's so smart to know, even just like when scanning things or photographing fine artwork, it's so good just to know like literally brightness and contrast levels and
yeah, if you're a visual artist and you don't know Photoshop, it's almost like being a painter and not knowing how to use a filbert, or like a certain type of brush, or something. It's like it's one of the, it's as important as just about anything as a tool. It's like it's indispensable. So it should be learned by every visual artist, I think. Or something like it. But Photoshop's kind of the ultimate. So how did you? What was the next step after college? I mean, how did it go?
After college, I got a job at which, I just recently left that job.
Yes.
So I graduated in 2018 of April of 2018. College for 5 years.
Holy
it was long.
shit, you graduated in 2018?
Yeah.
2018 feels like, I don't know, a year ago to me.
I think it's crazy to just look at just how far I've come just from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah, you're like I said, you're kind of fully formed. But so what? So that's funny too. I have to say the little story about you leaving your job. I feel like that was sort of the perfect thing for you, the way it happened, because you were like, I'm sick, I can't take it. And I was like, I know, I couldn't take it either, but I suffered for 7 years while I did my art career. And you're like, yeah, okay. And I was like, you should just keep your job. You have income coming in, steady income. It'll make things easier on you. And I recommended against it because I'm a father myself and a responsible old man. And then next time we talked, you're like, well, I quit my job.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's how it should be done. You know what I mean? It's not like you shouldn't be telling people, if you're mentoring them, you shouldn't be telling them to quit their job willy-nilly, because, it has to be, and the same thing is with having an art career. It has to be like you are so committed that you can't do anything else.
Yeah.
That's the only reason you should be an artist. If you're totally, it's the thing you have to do. And if you have to quit that job, even at the going against your mentor's advice, then you probably should quit your job if it's that important to you. And it's so far, it seems to have worked out pretty well for you.
Yeah. It was so funny. For a long time, this is not embarrassing, but I hope anyone from my job doesn't hear this. But basically, when I started the job, because it was for jewelry and metalsmithing, and I was a stone setter at my job. And I remember when I started that job, because obviously, as an artist, you start a job and you're never like, this is the thing I'm going to do for the rest of my life. I'm so happy working for someone else. I'm sure some people are, but I wasn't. And I remember, literally within the first couple of weeks of being there, I was like, I got to get out of here. There were a lot of good things about that job. I got to listen to my music all day. For the most part, I just got to work independently. So it was nice for that, because it just gave my brain time to just listen to music, to get ideas for things, listen to podcasts. The Dark Art Society podcast got me through a lot of those hours at work.
Cool.
But one of the things that really solidified my decision actually was I had my mentor at my job, and she taught me everything I knew about the job, and she sat right next to me. And I remember she had been there for 25 or 26 years, and she was so looking forward to retiring. And she was planning on retiring June of 2020. And I had been there, I think, a year and a half at that point. And in December of 2019, she passed away.
Oh, my God.
And it was really upsetting, for everyone in my department, obviously, because we were like, wow, she really, she's put 25 or 26 years of her life into this business. And it was I think the most tragic thing about that happening was that she was so looking forward to retirement, and she did not get to enjoy it at all.
Oh, my God, yeah.
It's very depressing.
Yeah, super depressing.
It's super depressing. And so that was one of those things that solidified my decision. even though I stayed for another like year and a half or something, that was one of those things that just was like, you can't be here for a long time because, like, you know, the corporate job world, they don't give a shit about employees, you know? It's just like, okay, come in, do work, you know, you give your life to a company and, like, you're replaceable. You know, you don't matter in the cog of the, you know, the grand scheme of things. So anyway, that was just a very, like, upsetting thing that helped fuel myself as an artist, you know.
Right.
But like I said, I had taken a couple years off from from college. I had taken a couple years off of drawing, and I didn't really know what my drawing style was anymore, just from those years in college where, you know, foundation classes, and I was focusing on illustration. So I was like, I don't really know what my fine art looks like anymore, because before I had been doing oil paintings and self-portraits. So I think it was last year, I'm pretty sure it was last year in like January, or it could have been like December or a little bit early, or like later in 2019, that I decided to start drawing again. And I just started with like a little, it wasn't very great, you know, it looked like me, but it wasn't, I don't think it really looks like me, but I just started with that, a little, like, you know, maybe 9-inch by 5-inch drawing or something very small. And then the second one I did was actually the one, Tresses, the one that prepared me for this.
Really? That's crazy. That's crazy.
That was just the second one after getting back into drawing. So, and then it took me a long time because I was working on on my full-time job schedule. So I didn't draw very often, and it took a very long time for me to like get drawings done. Like I think I worked on those tiny things for like 4 months each or something, because I just didn't have the time, you know, on top of everything else I was doing. During the pandemic, like I had 7 weeks off of my job during the pandemic. Well, I know we're still in it, obviously, but
right.
I had 7 weeks of unemployment, which was, I loved it. A lot of people didn't love it. I loved being at home and just getting to work on art shit.
Right.
It really worked for me. And then going back to work was fine, but I think my twin, Rachel, actually used to work for another like corporation, and they quit their job. I can't remember if it was during the pandemic or not, but we have like a photo studio in our apartment. And so after that, Rachel started bugging me incessantly about, hey, you should quit your job. Why don't you quit your job? Wouldn't you like to be at home with me all day? Maybe you should quit your job.
So it's Rachel's fault.
It really is Rachel's fault. You know, to be honest, I probably wouldn't have quit unless Rachel, like, if I didn't have Rachel bugging me every day.
But the thing is, Rachel has your best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Because you're so close. So it's not like someone just kind of telling you, yeah, quit your job, without really thinking it through.
Yeah, Rachel has always been like my biggest cheerleader and being like, you know, because I've always been, we grew up poor, so we've always been like insecure about like money and stuff, and like I have to make a certain amount every month and like blah blah, I don't know what's gonna happen, you know, like, and I've always just been like, you know, torn up with anxiety about that, and which is why I never quit. But Rachel has always been like my cheerleader and has always just been like, you know, you're gonna figure it out, you're gonna do it, you're going to be fine. Worst case scenario, like, we've got each other's backs. You know, we can be freelance together.
Right. That's awesome.
Yeah, so Rachel's has always been my cheerleader. But I will say that, like, working a day job, there's certainly not a problem in that. obviously, like, I had a schedule, I had a paycheck, I had health insurance, and I had a 401k. So those were all great things,
Right. Yeah.
to have in a day job. But
Absolutely.
I remember when I announced that I had put in my 2 weeks, and I had some people that were like really, really nice and were like, "Oh, you're doing art stuff, good for you." Because to be honest, this is going to sound weird. I wasn't out as an artist to everyone, like, at my job. I also wasn't out as non-binary to, like, anyone at my job.
Oh, interesting.
Just for, like, there were a lot of conservative people I worked with, and I was like, I don't think...
Yeah, who wants to deal with that shit?
Yeah, I was like, no one's going to use they, them pronouns for me anyway, so I'm not going to bring it up because it doesn't matter. So, there were a couple of people. There was one of my coworkers that was like, "Yeah, get the fuck out of here. Good for you."
I had a few of those people cheering me on that way at my job too.
Yeah, she was super nice. But I had a lot of people that were, obviously are not artists or not in the art world, and I had a bunch of people that were like, "You doing art? Cool. Good for you." And I remember I had one of my coworkers, and she was like, "Oh, so you're leaving to do art stuff?" "Yep. If that doesn't work out, I'm sure they'll take you back." And that was another one of those things that, like, solidified. I was like, I will prove you wrong. I will never be back. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I'm sure her intentions were good. She just, but do you know the story about Adam Jones being in the effects from Tool, the guitar player from Tool?
Yeah.
He worked at Stan Winston's. He was in effects. That's how we met originally. And so he started Tool while he was at Stan Winston's, and then he was like, "Okay, I'm gonna leave. I gotta quit to go on tour with this band." And everyone was like, "All right, see you back see you soon when your band doesn't make it." And everyone was giving him shit, like, "We'll see you back here. We'll see you back here." And he was like, and he became like huge, which is pretty cool. So
that's awesome.
You're doing the same thing, so that's great.
Well, thank you. That's I definitely feel like I'm in a launching area of my career. Like, I'm not completely sure on what I'm doing or where I'm going, but I'm getting to that cusp.
Mm-hmm.
Makes sense. But that's actually funny. Like, obviously, love Tool. My mom turned me on to Tool.
You're making me feel so old.
I know, I'm sorry. My mom turned me on to Tool, I think in, like, 2008 or something, and, like, everyone in my family likes Tool, but, it's just so funny how sometimes, like, your music choices go great with your parents. Like, some people have opposite.
Right.
But no, our family, like, we all listen to the same shit. My mom always listened to more, like, I'd say she listened to more, like, grungy music, but my dad was always, like, the, Anthrax, Metallica, Slayer, Megadeth type dude, So we had a really good mix of, like, new metal and, like, hair metal and shit. So yeah. Anyway,
that's great.
Yeah. What we were talking about at my day job? Oh yeah, I had people who were just, like, naysayers, and they were like, "Yep, they'll take you back, whatever." Which I was like, I know they probably will, but I was like, but I don't want to be back.
Yeah. That's my thing too. It was like, I have a fallback. That's how I felt when I left FX. I can go back to it. I know I could get a job.
Yeah.
But I don't want to.
Yeah.
I really would not want. I mean, I really wouldn't want to do that. That would feel bad.
Yeah.
So I get you.
Yeah. I don't know. It just. There were definitely benefits of the job that were great for me creatively, but the biggest thing was that, like, my schedule was so early in the day, and I'd get out, I'd need, like, an hour to wind down. I'd eat dinner, and then it was like, you only have so many hours to make art. And no matter what I did, I would always consistently go to bed later and later and later, and got to the point where I was like getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night consistently for like 2 years.
Right.
And because I was like, I have to make when I get home, I have to do it.
Yeah.
And it was like I was exhausted all the time. I had like this weird buzzing in the front of my brain.
Damn.
Where it was like I was so tired, and I don't know what it was, but it was just like I had a buzzing in my brain all the time.
Wow. And
I also had terrible anxiety while I was at the job. Hello. That I didn't even realize. Like, I never thought I had anxiety, but I would tell Rachel, I'd be like, yeah, I have this like weird, like, it feels like butterflies in my stomach, but it's on my heart. And Rachel was like, yeah, I think that's anxiety.
Oh, shit.
And I would have it all the time, just, I don't know. Anyway, there were good things about that job, but like, I didn't start that job thinking I'm going to be here for 40 years and I'm going to retire,
Right.
So I just recently left the job. I think it wasn't super long ago, maybe 2 months ago.
Right. Yeah.
So one thing that I've noticed that's a big change is that I've been getting 8 hours of sleep a night, which is great.
Yeah.
I look more beautiful and well rested than ever.
Yeah. That's true.
So that was a good change for me. I have noticed that like my schedule, I think I texted you about this the other day, that like my schedule and my sense of time has just gone out the window though. So just this week I have like set a schedule for myself, and I've like told myself that I want to exercise, have drawing or illustration time, and I want to have sketchbook time every single day.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been really good for me to just like to fuck around and just to have my 3 goals every single day. That's been really good for me. So
yeah, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
And the thing is, from my experience, it's easy at first because you're kind of pumped about it and excited, and then then there comes a point where you start slacking. You let yourself. You're like, oh, I've been doing it for 3 months now. I got to give myself a break.
Yeah.
And then it's easy to fall off the horse in that way, and then it gets like, oh, one day turns into 2, turns into 3 that you didn't do any of your stuff, and
that's how it was, man.
From my experience, it's like that's okay. You just go back to it. As soon as you realize, oh, I'm totally slacking, I'm off my schedule, you just go back to it, and then it's like that's how you do it. So I used to really get down on myself because I would start off with these great intentions, and then I would go for a while, and then I would just stop, and then I would be like, oh, I can't do it. I just can't do it. I'm not that kind of person, and then that just makes it worse. But when I just kind of went back to it, that's the way to do it. It's like. It's kind of like being, an alcoholic or something. If you have a drink, you're not supposed to just throw it all away. Even if you have a binge, and you're like, okay, I got to get back. I got to go back to it, and then it's all good. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But structure is important. It's one of the hardest things about being a freelancer or working for yourself. People don't realize it's hard to make yourself. There's so much stuff you have to do aside from the art. There's so much you have to do, when you're like just doing everything yourself pretty much. Yeah.
I found that my day job was really helpful because I work really good, and I'm sure most artists do that. I work really good with a set schedule every day, and I'm also, this is like a thing from David Lynch, which is hilarious, but like you eat the same thing every day, like you have the same breakfast.
Yeah, I'm like that too.
Yeah, Like I just work best that way because I know what to count on.
Right.
And I know what is going to happen for the day. But now I'm just realizing, like, I am not going to get fired if I wake up late,
Right.
Like, I have to be the one to get myself up to, like, okay, here's the first 2 hours of the day, we're doing sketchbook. Like, that's good, I have to be the one to be hard on myself.
It's a discipline. It's discipline.
Yeah.
That's it. It's a discipline issue.
Yep, so that's what I've been up to. But I did have a funny story I forgot to tell while I was talking, or not funny, but while I was talking about college, that I took, while I was doing illustration classes, I took a intermediate painting class, an oil painting class. And I remember my painting instructor, she was like, okay, class, which it was funny, it was 2 people, someone else in the class. She was like, okay, like, what I want you to do is hang up 20 paintings that you like in your studio space, because we had like little mini painting studios. And she was like, hang up 20 paintings that you like for next class period. So I was like, okay, I'll do that. Printed them out, hung them up. I actually have some of them. I wonder if I can turn the computer to it. I have some of them. I just recently added. I'll show you.
Okay.
So I have a bunch of shit hung up on my wall for inspiration.
Yeah. Wait. Don't move. We're going to take a picture. Okay. Cool. I like it.
Oh yeah, and I have my googly eye skull. Back here, these are all paintings that I've had. Those were in my painting studio.
Uh-huh.
I think there's Jerome Whitkin, Maria Tieker. Do you know her name? Philadelphia artist?
No.
Maria Tieker, the plastic wrap one. Michael Husser, Marilyn Minter, Camille Rose Garcia. Anyway, there were more than that, but those were a couple of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I had those all hung up in my studio space, and my professor, she was like looking at them and was like, okay, so what do you see? And I was like, I don't know. They're just all paintings that I like. I don't know what they're all about. Because she was like, what do you see, or what like unifies them, And I was like, they're just paintings that I like. Mm-hmm. I had no idea what unified them. But sometimes you need another person to like can see something so obvious that you can't. And she like took a step back and she was like, well, they're all people.
Right, yeah. It's so
I was like,
simple.
Interesting. I didn't see that before. She was like, yeah, they're all people or portraits.
Right.
I was like, okay, great. Yep, didn't see that before. And then she was like, now this is what blew my mind. She was like, and they're all about transformation.
Wow.
And that, like just completely shook shit up for me.
Yeah.
I had, at the time, I was just dabbling in drag at the time, and I was in illustration, and I had done self-portraits, but I wasn't really doing them. And I didn't really know what all of my work was about. Mm-hmm. And she said that, and I was just like, holy shit, you're so right. It hurts because all of my work is about transformation.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue too, because I wanted to talk about your work.
Yeah, and I know we haven't really talked about that.
Well, no, we're getting your story, and now let's get into the work.
Yeah.
You talk about your work. I mean, you do self-portraits a lot. You do different things, so it's hard. So it's hard to know where to start, really.
Yeah.
Do you feel like you have your graphite is your main thing? If you were to if you were to choose a main thing, it would be your graphite work. Yeah, I think so too. I think so too.
But it's funny how like I didn't do drawing or like self-portraits in such a long time that I just was like, when I was finally ready to return to drawing, I was like, I don't know really what I want to do. And I was like, I guess I'll just do a self-portrait again, and it just works for me.
yeah. It's a tradition too. It's a fine art tradition. It's very traditional too, which is I think really cool.
Yeah.
Being a non-traditional kind of person and doing
a traditional artist.
Yeah, seriously, like doing it in a traditional medium like that is really interesting. That's cool conceptually.
Thank you.
So why do you just is it intuitive, and do you like analyze it and think deeper about it, the self-portrait thing?
Yeah, I definitely, I mean, if you look at everything that I do, I would argue that like everything I do is about transformation. Everything I do is a self-portrait in a sense, because like my illustration is like the world that exists in my brain. It's like I'm drawing like the characters and like the way I wish things were all the time. Like the weird, wacky, goofy shit.
Yeah, I love it too. That hasn't, we haven't talked about it that much, but your graphic stuff is so good. It's so funny and excellent. I love it. Yeah, your shirts and stuff.
I love being just like silly and goofy, and like I like making people laugh, and so I try to make like weird combos for things. So like in my Etsy, I have greeting cards for a lot of like trans affirming surgery. So I have a headstone that says "Here lie my boobs," which is like that's appropriate for like people having double mastectomy, for people having top surgery if you're trans. I've also got one that's a headstone that says "Here lies my dead name," which is like for trans people, non-binary people, people that are just changing their first or last name, whatever. But I just like combining weird things and like making spooky, silly things. I pulled one thing. My bed is also a workspace.
I know about that. I know how that goes.
I just drew this like last week, but this is kind of one of my more notable characters.
I gotta get a picture.
Yeah.
It's great.
I don't know if it's reflected so you can't read the text, but...
Yeah, very important pumpkin.
Yeah.
VIP, it's excellent.
Yes, VIP. I don't know, I just like doing stupid shit, and then I also... This is one I just finished yesterday, and I uploaded it today, but it's a cow stripper, and it says, "Tip me."
Cash cow.
Cash cow.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, thank you. So
I love the humor. I love the creativity and the humor, especially that the Tombstone series of cards. It's like it's kind of serious, but it's hilarious. You do it in a way that's hilarious, so it's okay to it's okay. Everything doesn't have to be heavy all the time. It's like I'm sure being non-binary, there's extra heaviness than cis people, so it's like nice to lighten it up and be able to laugh about it and have it be just a normal
like I love like I said earlier, I've done a couple of vending events over this summer, and it's so like refreshing to just have like all my wacky, colorful, products or whatever, and like to have people walk up and be like, "Queerdo." Oh, and then like they laugh, and I just like making people laugh, That's another great. Just part of my personality is like, and why it goes with drag so well is like I like just making people chuckle, and I'm a showman in that way. So my illustration work is more like what's inside my brain, and I always tell people that like if I had to pick, because there's so many iterations of like the Batman universe, if I had to pick a Batman universe to live in, it would either, I mean, the Tim Burton one is amazing, obviously, but the Joel Schumacher Batman Robin, bitch, that movie is drag.
Right.
That movie is so fucking gay.
Yeah.
I love it. So I fucking love that movie. I don't care what anyone else says. It is amazing and incredible. And
I worked on that movie. Did you know I worked on that movie?
You didn't.
Yeah.
You did
This is the
not.
one with. Is this the one with Mr. Freeze?
Yes.
Yeah, we did a bunch of frozen bodies for that.
No way.
Yeah.
No way, dude. I fucking love that movie.
Joel Schumacher was great. He was hilarious. He was. I mean, for what little I saw him, I remember he would always say, "It's cuckoo bananas." He would always say that on set.
I love that. Chet, thank you for your service. That movie has turned a lot of people gay. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. Literally everyone in the drag community that's like spooky and weird, I'm telling you, everyone loves that fucking movie.
Really? Wow.
Yes.
It's got a cult following now.
It is amazing. I fucking love that movie. Thank you so much for telling me that. I didn't know that you worked on it. Oh my god. That just makes me so happy. Oh my god.
Fun. It was fun. It was like it was all people, you know, realistic people in poses, and then like we made these ice things around them. It was super challenging but really fun.
I love that. Thank you for telling me that. Oh my god.
No problem.
You're like, not a problem.
Anytime.
Yeah. Wacky shit making people laugh. Okay, so I have like the weird characters and shit that definitely like stem from drag, and I want to start doing more illustrations like of my drag characters.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea.
Just like kind of like bring an illustration to life, but also like make a comic world like out of the characters. So but yeah, I used to perform as just Salem Massacre, and then like just decided I didn't want to be one character all the time. I have like character makeups that I'll do multiple times. Like there's a lot of iterations. I don't know if you've seen where I do that eye illusion where it like kind of comes up.
Yeah.
And my eyes look really big.
Yeah.
That I decided that character is Kiwi the Clown. So I do Kiwi a lot. Like when I'm just want to like, that's like my normal drag makeup now, when I just want to like throw something on and go out, like to a show or something. So there's Kiwi the Clown, and then there's like, oh god, there's so many characters. I'm not even gonna go in there.
Okay.
That'll be too much. But I'm very inspired by just like designing. I kind of use the makeup process to like kind of build a storyline and to build the character like through the makeup process and like when we're photographing and stuff. So Rachel handles like all the post edits on my drag photos. So yeah. And then usually when I post those on my website, I'll try to come up with like a silly like little caption to kind of give a little background information on the character. So like, I think one of my best ones was like Cover Ghoul, and she has like cockroaches on her face, and she's like, here, let me pull it up because it's going to drive me nuts if I don't. I love like weird, obviously like super weird characters and shit.
Yeah, I love that there's the dark element to all of that stuff, or the Halloweeny, the goth, the dark art element to everything. It's cool. It's great to combine those things. Yeah, because they're not. I mean, I guess maybe to some degree it's been done, but it's not common to see, those elements brought together.
Yeah.
You know, people tend to think, dark art is that people tend to think dark art is like
really serious,
serious, male oriented.
Yeah.
It's very, and it's like it's not. It's not. It could be anything. You can have that dark edge to anything, and that's great that you're kind of like expanding that.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
I pulled up this piece. So I like making people laugh with drag shit. So this one, Cover Ghoul, my caption I came up with was absolutely vile, disgusting, horrific, stinking, and that's just what her husband says. Dolled Up, who's the character, Dolled Up, prepares to compete in the Miss Hideous pageant, where she hopes to win for the 5th year in a row.
Excellent. It's very John Waters.
Yes.
Pink Flamingos.
Absolutely.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
I don't see the picture, though. Did you text it to me?
Oh, here, let me do that.
Now I have to see it. Oh, you don't. You know what? You could send it with all of the images you sent me for the gallery, because we should put that in the gallery.
Yes, absolutely.
On Patreon.
Here, I just took a photo of it. I'll send it to you really quick. There you go.
Okay. Well, while we're waiting, you have the so let's talk more about the fine art stuff.
Yeah.
Because this is the more serious stuff that you do.
Yes. So as I started doing my self-portraits again, and I'm really inspired by, self-portraits, obviously. I'm super inspired by Frida Kahlo, and she's like, Frida Kahlo is my favorite artist of all time. I love her so much.
Yeah, she was amazing.
And I started looking at her.
I got the picture. It's so great.
Yes.
I love it.
Yeah, thank you. I started seeing Frida Kahlo's work, I think I want to say like my 8th grade art teacher or something turned me on to Frida Kahlo.
Wow.
And
that's cool.
She was super cool. She knew that I was art life. She knew that I was more serious for other 8th graders, or for people in my grade. So she showed me Frida Kahlo's work, which is obviously sometimes gruesome, sometimes just kind of weird and very dark. So, but I started looking at her, and I'm just super inspired by her, and I love her. And I think actually if she were alive today, I would totally argue that she's probably non-binary. If they had that word or language, more common when she was alive, I'm sure she would have been non-binary. But anyway,
that's true. That's a good point.
So,
interesting.
Yeah, so she super inspired me, and I was doing self-portraits in high school. I think because in my AP art class, we had to pick a theme to do all of our work on. So I did, I think 12 self-portraits about interesting facts about myself or something. So one of them was God, what were they all about? I was probably trying to be deep for a high schooler, but so I'm sure some of them were I have depression. No shit. No shit, Sherlock. We all did. Yeah, I did. I think I did one on I'm straight edge, and I'm still straight edge. So, which if you don't know what that means, it means people that are straight edge don't participate in cigarettes, alcohol, drugs, substance. So I'm straight edge. Yeah, so I did those. Oh, and I think I did one that was I'm in the LGBT community. I didn't know what that meant. I just knew that I was in it. I didn't really know what I was, though. So anyway,
when did you know that?
That was, I think, in 10th grade, but I feel I knew probably more so in middle school that I was in the LGBT community somewhere.
Right.
I didn't know what, but I knew that I was in there somewhere, you know. Yeah, I'll have to show you some of those self-portraits that I did, but I did that series, and then I think I just told you this recently too, that in high school, like, my bedroom was my studio, and I would do all of my self-portraits. They were oil paintings. I did them in my bedroom. And then I went off to college, and it kind of, like, screwed up, like, the way I was doing things, the way I was used to working.
Mm-hmm.
And what have we here? I am back to my bedroom and my studio being the same room, and I'm doing self-portraits again. Actually, I should send you that link. Actually, on my YouTube channel, I have... Like, I don't upload to my YouTube a ton, but I have, like, all of my self-portraits and shit from high school.
Oh, wow.
Like, I did time-lapses and stuff of them. So I'll have to send you the link, because then you can, like, see...
Oh, cool.
Like, all my old work. So, anyway. I think, like, coming back to drawing and coming back to self-portraits after such a long period of time... I think, like, it's just a good way to process things about yourself. Obviously, like, painful things or, you know, whatever. Mm-hmm. That's what Rachel does with their photography, too, you know. And for me, and, like, transformation in general, I think self-portraits have been a great way for me to kind of understand aspects about myself and to understand being non-binary better.
Mm-hmm.
So this one, Tresses, the ginormous one, I did that one. I redid it for a local competition, which I can tell that story too. But that one is about how bizarre, like, femininity feels to me as an AFAB non-binary person.
A what?
AFAB.
What does that mean?
Okay, so for people who don't know, so there's AFAB and AMAB, and then you'll sometimes hear, like, AGAB, which is assigned gender at birth. Okay, so AFAB is assigned female at birth, and then AMAB is assigned male at birth.
Mm-hmm.
So I am an AFAB non-binary person, and I use they, them pronouns.
Okay. Got it.
If that makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I'm assuming you are an AMAB person.
I am AMAB.
Yes. Yeah, I think... okay, yeah, so that one is about, like, how bizarre femininity feels like to me, or feels to me as an AFAB non-binary person. And over time, it's interesting to, like, look back on myself that, like, Rachel and I have always been, like, tomboys, you know, whatever you want to call it. And I remember growing up and I wanted to be, this is going to sound weird, okay, but I remember I wanted to be a girl so bad.
Wow.
It sounds weird because, like, I was born a girl.
Wow, but that's such a trip. That's so telling.
Yeah, like, I wanted to, like, I wanted to be, like, pretty and wear pink, and I wanted to be, like flirted on by boys. Like, I remember wanting to be, like, the stereotype of a girl, a female, whatever. Like, I wanted it so bad growing up.
But you just weren't that person.
I just felt like I could never, like, not pull it off. It felt like anytime I'd like try to be a little girly, I remember it felt like a costume to me.
What a trip. This is so interesting.
Which this is what our bulk of the conversation should have been. I didn't even think about this until now, but I remember just feeling like girly things just never felt right to me. You know, it just never felt right growing up. And so now I look back and I'm like, oh yeah, I probably was non-binary the whole time and just didn't realize, you know.
Right.
Which is interesting because obviously I love femininity, like hyper femininity, exaggerated femininity, which is why I love drag so much. So it's interesting to look back and see that and to be like, okay, that makes sense because drag, femininity, costume, like wig, perfume, jewelry, like drag has given me an avenue to explore like super high, hyper femininity and to have a place to like do it in a healthy way.
Right.
To feel like I wasn't like to be a different character, you know what I mean?
Right. And it takes out the element of pretending to be that and trying to fool everybody. It's like I'm putting on a costume. Yeah. You know, I am and it's not like it's got a different feeling about it. It's performative and as opposed to like trying to be that person that you're not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's interesting too, like looking back on early years, I don't know if this had any effect on me not becoming non-binary, because I think it was always there. But Rachel and I have like always, I'm telling you, like always, we have been always asked if we were a boy or a girl by like other, people our age or like young kids. Like when I would get dressed in drag for Halloween in like 9th grade and shit, I would have people passing out candy that would literally ask me like, are you a man or a woman? Like, which is like, I'm trick-or-treating, bitch. Does it really
Exactly. Just give me the fucking candy.
Yeah, just shut up and give me the candy. Oh my God. But like, we've always been asked if we were a boy or a girl. And like before, obviously I was like, oh, I'm a girl, whatever. And it's interesting to look back on that. 'Cause like, we have lower voices for like females, and I think that was always confusing for people. And then we're also like, I'd say we're more like masculine, like in day to day anyway. And now I feel like I'm very neutral. So I have had people assume I'm a trans man. I've had people assume I'm a trans woman. I've had people assume like I'm a cis man. Like I've had so many people just like, they don't know what to do with this.
Right.
Which I'm cool with it because I understand. Like, I don't expect Joe Schmo on the sidewalk to know that I'm non-binary. He's probably not going to fucking guess I'm non-binary. He's probably going to guess I'm a man. What the fuck ever. Like, I'm moving on with my day, Right. So, anyway, we've always been asked if we're a boy or a girl, like, probably since, like, 6th grade or something. Like, it's been a really long time. And so I don't know if that necessarily had an effect on us coming out as non-binary, or if it was just like, we've always been androgynous, you know what I mean?
Right. I don't think I've ever brought this up just because it's never came up, but I used to always get people thought I was a girl all the time when I was a kid. Yeah, because my parents let me grow my hair long.
Yeah.
And I had like long eyelashes, and I was kind of small. I'm short, and I was kind of small, long blonde hair, long eyelashes. I got mistaken for being a girl all the time when I was little. Yeah. You'd never know it now.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
You have great hair.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got great hair, Chet. You could make a wig out of that hair.
I should shave it. Shave it and make a wig.
Exactly. You know what? You could perform as yourself, and you could have, like, if you ever wanted to, like, buzz cut, have the hair, make it into a wig. So you know what you could do if you didn't want the upkeep, have a wig made out of your hair, and then just for the podcast, just put it on. and when you go out to art shows, just put it on. No one will ever know.
For the Ego Death show, I almost shaved my head and made a realistic dummy of myself using that hair. in the coffin, because there was a coffin for like the main, which was kind of represented the ego, and it was like, I thought that would be kind of cool, and then just totally, because it's a very, monks shave their head as a form of not, dress the same as having, as renouncing their, their ego in the sense of their personality and things. But I went against it because it was like, that doesn't really fit into what I'm doing. And then I decided the black magic characters in the coffin is like, oh, that's better. It fits more with the show. But anyway,
Well, I've had my head shaved now since, I think, like fall of 2017 or something. I fucking love it so much.
I shaved my head one time. I've never, rarely cut my hair. Since I was a little kid, I've had long hair. There's Super 8 film of me getting my first haircut, and I think that's the only, that's like one of the few, that's the only haircut I had when I was a little kid, and I hated it, and I was crying, and I was all like, fucking hated it. But I did shave my head in the 90s just to do it.
Yeah.
The early 90s, and it felt so good. It felt so good to have no hair. I just don't even think about it now, though. It's just like, I can't be bothered. I just like, it's the way it grows. I don't give a shit. I want to paint.
Well, you have beautiful hair, like, especially because you're 50, what's your age?
I'm going to be 54 in November.
Well, I mean, obviously, there are tons of, like, 50-plus-year-old men that, like, have no hair, and you have been blessed by the hair god. You have beautiful hair.
Thank you. It's starting to I'm starting to finally get gray. It's crazy that I hardly have any grays in it.
Dude, you are fucking lucky.
I know. My grandfather, though, when he died, he was like, I think in his 80s.
Yeah.
And he still had like, because he was a redhead, he still had red hair. I mean, he had a lot of gray, but he still had a lot of red in it. So,
wow.
It's just a genetic thing, I guess.
Yeah, you're very lucky. Very lucky. Yeah.
I'm lucky in the hair game.
Yes, that's right. Yeah. I want you to can you just, yes! Yes!
How do you do a slow motion shampoo commercial?
Go to a drag show and then pull all your hair to the front and then just do one big waft over your shoulder.
I just wash it and then I only brush it when it starts to get snarly. It's like I never brush it.
Yeah.
If I start to get like dreads, I'm like, and I like brush it out then. But I never brush it. Wash, shampoo, conditioner. That's it.
Yeah.
No brushing.
After I did it, because my hair used to be like probably your length.
Oh, really? Wow.
It was super, super long. I'll send you photos of that, too.
Yeah, I gotta see
my hair was super fucking long, and then, like, because I was dyeing it, like, different colors and stuff, and I just was like, it's just frail, and it's dead now, and I was like, I think I'm ready to shave it, and oh my god, I love it so much.
You never looked back.
I have not looked back. I just love it. And I like that it's like, because it's short, I can just dye it fun colors. Mm-hmm. Okay, I'm sick of that. 2 weeks later, shave it off again. Like, it's nice. Right. I think that's another, like, weird, helpful thing for me that, like my fine art is really serious. So when I want to be really serious, I can, like, shave them off and, like, devoid myself of, like, any like outer, like, weird wacky appearance or
right.
But I just like having colored hair too. But anyway, so fine art has been, like, more so a way for me to kind of, like, deep dive and look in introspectively to kind of analyze being non-binary, and also, like, not to challenge beauty standards, but obviously, like, I think we've talked before about, like, in the dark art world, there are very common, like, symbols or subject that people paint a lot. Like, there's a lot of, like, witches and skulls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I kind of look at that too, and like, which is, I'm not trying to shit talk anyone or anything, but I think like the lowbrow, like pop surrealist, like new contemporary world, I think it's a lot of people like, and this is a formula that works, so I don't blame people for doing it, but I think a lot of people lean into super thin, super attractive, naked women
totally
that are sad and depressed for some reason.
Don't forget white.
And very white. And for some reason, there's a lot of flowers around them, or like they're caressing a fawn or something. Like, you know exactly what I'm talking about, okay?
Yep.
So this is not, I'm not trying to like shit talk anyone or anything, but I think that like, there's a quote, I remember reading one of Camille Rose Garcia's books, and I remember in like the intro or something, she put like, in the lowbrow world, there's a lot of people that draw like sad girls without realizing why. And I think that, which is like a perfect way to sum that up, that like, I think people just know that that's a formula that works.
Right.
And so they lean into it.
Right.
For me, like, it's just worked for me to draw myself, but I think part of it, even though I'm white, like, I'm like not conventionally attractive, I'm fat, I'm bald, I'm non-binary, like I have stretch marks, blah, blah, blah. Like, so I think for me, it's also part of a way to like, to draw myself, to make myself more visible, because this is not the formula that works. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like fat individuals is not part of the formula that works. So I think, part of it is also just like, challenging that idea that like this is what lowbrow pop surrealist works, have to look like. So I'm going to draw myself because like I enjoy doing it, and it's not like no one else is drawing that look like me. You know what I mean?
love that, and I love that about you. I love that about your work. I think it's cool. I think it's like it's it's a lot of things. It's really brave. It's cool. I don't know. To me, that makes it. It's so much more important than like you said, the skinny model chicks. Just the standard stuff that sells, basically. And it's like it needs to. Every artist should be judged, just like every person should be judged on why they're doing what they're doing. There may be people doing that kind of artwork, and that's their artwork, and they're for real. Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
There's a lot of people that just follow that as a formula.
Right, because it sells, because it's popular. But so and this is why I like dark art in general. Also, is like it's not about that at all. It's like kind of the other end of it. It's like the reaction to that in a way, and that sums up the world that we live in, where it's like we know the standard models of beauty. It's accepted. Majority of people are into that. And it's like, and we're like, these things are also beautiful in a different way, and so we're going to celebrate them with our artwork. And they're just as important, even though they don't fit that model. So again, it's just another reason I think dark art and the portraits you're doing, and I feel like the stuff I do, I feel the same way about it. I mean, I think that stuff's beautiful that I paint. To me, that's what is beautiful. And a lot of people will think that's monsters, it's horrible, and it's like I don't feel that way at all. I think they look so cool, and it's it really is. It's a different way to look at things. It's a different perspective, and seeing people it's like it's about seeing what's actually beautiful, you know?
Yeah.
And that's, it's cliche, but it's the inside. It's the thing inside that makes people really beautiful, you know?
Yeah. Well, and that's even part of the reason why I did tresses, why I did it so big, is because
I love that.
I entered it into that art competition, which I forgot I should tell that story too. That I entered it into that art competition, and like part of it is that like big work is kind of like the bread and butter of this art competition. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do a self-portrait really, really big. And part of it was like, I wanted to make non-binary people, and again, like, I wanted to make myself and my story, like, if you want to look at it in a weird way, that like making my portrait so big, like, I wanted to make myself visible.
Right.
And I wanted people to not be able to like ignore LGBT people and ignore non-binary people, and like you can't ignore us, like we are here, we're queer. Like, I don't know, and other thing too is like in my local art community there's definitely a lot of things that are like call for women artists, like things like that, but there's not really a lot of like call for like queer people, like call for LGBT artists and stuff. And I think part of that, like, and even like in the art world in general, like you'll see, you know, magazines do like special like women artist issues and things, which is great. But you'll never see like an LGBT art special or like trans and non-binary art, you know, special edition or anything like that.
Not yet. I think not yet. It's coming though.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot of people that probably just don't have the language that they think like, okay, we're gonna make it's inclusive, it's for women artists, and I think people that are like administrators of like magazines and shit, they'd probably just think that if I put a call out for women artists, then like LGBT, like those people will know to submit or like something like that.
Right.
But I think it really, not that it ignores, but in a lot of ways it does not like, it doesn't bring up or like uphold marginalized people. So like there will be trans people, there will be non-binary people. Like, I'm not going to apply for a woman's led initiative because I'm not a woman.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So I think there should be more like LGBT art like specials or like even shows, you know, just things like in general that are like, we're doing all trans artists, like we're going to do all queer artists, we're going to do everything about like queer media, like shit like that, because I think like that's another way that we're going to be able to uplift LGBT people in the dark art society, in like in the lowbrow art world in general, you know? So
yeah, I mean, I think it's the time, you know, it's just time. It's like I was saying earlier, it's you know, I've always felt like, cause I was raised in a family where it was like, you know, not a big deal. Marginalized, you know, it's like I felt marginalized, even though I'm like in the 1% of, you know, at the top, I'm at the top of the food chain by being a white cis male, you know, in America.
Straight, Christian.
Yeah, right. No, but I mean, just like as far as the birth lottery, as far as having an advantage, right?
Right.
But at the same time, within that, I feel like I'm on the bottom of it, or, you know, as a kid or growing up.
Yeah.
Within that structure, being in the top, I'm at the bottom of the top because I was an artist. I was a weird kid. I wasn't into sports. I wasn't into what all the other kids were into. So I've always felt like compassion and a recognition in marginalized people all my life. So it was like I was anybody who was marginalized, I kind of felt like some kind of connection with. So what was my point? I forget what my initial point was. I don't remember how I got there, but my initial, the thing I was starting with was that I think it's time. I know what I was going to say. So to me, it's like, like I was saying early on, it's sort of like, I don't care. It's like, it doesn't matter to me that you're non-binary. It's like I like you because you're cool. I like you. I like you as a person. And so, on one hand, that's really kind of the ultimate goal, that you'd want everyone to just accept people for who they are and like them on their personality or not, or what they are all about. Yeah. But at the same time, this is the time when people are, I don't know what you'd call mainstream society is starting to be exposed to this stuff. Like, think about just the idea of being gay in my lifetime has been like, hugely changed. Like, Republicans think it's okay to be gay now. Yeah. When I was a kid, it was like, no, not even. Yeah. But now, and that's because of awareness. That's because of it coming into mainstream culture, and people know gay people now. They have gay family members. It's been talked about so much that they understand it, and they're like, oh, it's not a big deal, so they don't care. And I think this is the time now for it's an ongoing thing. It's definitely not like everything's good now, but right now is the moment for, non-binary, transgender, LGBTQ. It's like, this is the time that the awareness is being spread, so that in another 10 years, it's going to be not an issue. Or not 10 years. Maybe things go faster now with the internet, so it might be. But there's going to be a point, let's say in another 20 years, the gay thing is going to be like, who gives a shit? Can you believe that anybody ever gave a shit about people? You know what I mean? It's going to be like that. It's going to eventually be like that. And because I think that it's fear. It's fear that, because people don't understand it, because they don't know any or they don't realize they know any non-binary people. Yeah. And so once they start realizing and learning about what it means, and that it is a real thing, and that people they love are that thing, and friends and stuff, it's like no one's going to give a shit. But now's the time that the awareness is happening. So it's like, now's the time. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I think that all. So ditto. What he said.
Because you always hear from, I hate to say it, but you always hear it from the right, people saying, I just don't want it shoved down my throat. And it's like, no, you don't really like it because you don't understand it. If you understood it, you would be like supportive of them. You'd be like, oh, that's great. They don't have to feel bad about themselves anymore. They can just be themselves. They can not worry about getting their ass kicked every day for being themselves. You know what I'm saying? And so
yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, it's just, I just think it's an education thing. It's an education and an exposure thing that will change those kind of people, because I think everybody generally, most people are decent, and when they have an experience and understand something, they stop being assholes about it. If that makes sense.
The curious thing about that line of thinking is that, like, people saying, like, I don't want it shoved down my throat. Right. It's like, literally, like, you'll see a non-binary person on a billboard or something, and it'll be, I don't want it shoved down my throat.
Talk about being shoved down your throat. It's like that. That's
Simple visibility is not shoving down your throat. It is visibility. It's not shoving down your throat.
Exactly.
And we had, so like, yeah, part of my wheelhouse of shit that we've done, Rachel was the monarch of Electric Forest in 2017. And Electric Forest is like an EDM music festival.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like an initiative thing that you wanted to do in the forest. And so Rachel proposed with me and some of our friends that we would do drag in the forest. And like, it's a hippy dippy, like, you know, environment. It's not my style of music, but I like the counterculture of like music festivals and shit. And we had a bunch of people that were giving us like backlash because they were like, I don't want drag shoved down my throats. And we were like, but having a drag show at Electric Forest is not shoving down your throat. It's just visibility.
Yeah.
It's just having...
Is there any other... Yeah.
It's just having one place in the forest for people that are like queer and gay and are into drag.
Right.
How is that shoving down your throat?
And is there anything else? Is there anything else there that the people are saying, I don't want that shoved down my throat? Like some other thing? No, there's not. It's not, because it's not about that. It's about they don't understand it, so they're like,
exactly.
They don't like being exposed to something they don't understand or they don't know about. It makes them feel the way non-binary people feel probably all the time in a world that doesn't understand them. They feel like, you know, they're unfamiliar with it. So instead of, you know, understanding it and going, oh, okay, this is a new thing in life that you can appreciate because now I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it was so frustrating because I was like, everyone here is like like people at Electric Forest and like music festivals and shit, like in EDM and stuff, like so like hippie, which is cool, but there's so many people that are like love everyone, like I fucking love like no judgment on anyone, but then are like, ew, gay shit, that doesn't belong in the forest.
So stupid.
Everyone is have you looked around at everyone that's here? Everyone is fucking doing drag. Are you kidding me?
Right.
Like, I don't know. It drives me bonkers because, and like, not to get heated about it, but I'm like, it's not shoving down your throat to have one space for queer people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was interesting too. So in college, Rachel and I also did, we did an independent art show called Art is a Drag, which I probably have some videos and stuff on my YouTube about that too. But it's basically when I started doing drag makeup as more of like a painting process. We had the show Art is a Drag, which was all of my like drag self-portraits, and we'd hang them up in art galleries. And then for the receptions, we would have... we would do a drag show, just to like break up the monotony of like what a regular art show was like, you know. And it's super fun, amazing. And I remember one of my professors at the time, he was like, you know, I really like the Art as a Drag pieces because they're so big. Because we would print them at like, my face was fucking huge, you know. We'd print them at like 36 by 48 or something. It was like really big, which kind of just ties that conversation back to the drawing, that like visibility is just so important, you know. And that was one reason why I made the piece so big too, is because like just visibility for queer people is just so imperative. And like, I don't know. Now I'm really drawn to big work now. But I think it's so important to like just give like Black creators, to give trans creators, to give LGBT creators, like in general, like give them space to thrive and like support Black and trans people, like Black and queer people, Hispanic queer people, you know, like it's so imperative to just uplift marginalized voices, because, and especially intersectional voices, because you're not gonna understand what it's like to live that experience unless you listen to those people.
Right,
you know?
right, yeah. That's the biggest, the most important part of it. I really believe that. I really believe that that's the key to all this, is getting, like I said, it's like with the like I said, with the gay thing, the gay thing, with the, just this, to see that transformation, to live through that, to really, I lived through it as an adult. It wasn't even just when I was a kid. It was like when I was a young adult, it was still, they were trying to get it, Bill Clinton didn't he have or Obama, even at the beginning of his thing, was against gay marriage. So it's like, it's changed so much. As an adult, I've seen it, and it's like, I just think it's like a matter of people understanding it. That's all there is to it. Once they understand it, they're not afraid anymore. They're not afraid of it. Yeah, because I think it's fear. Fear.
Yeah, and that's like, to tie the whole thing up, that's really like at the root, I think, of like all my self-portrait work and my fine art work, is like, I just simply, because we're at a time where being non-binary is so, like, not that being non-binary is new, but we're more having a like national and international conversation about what being non-binary is. So at the root of it, I think my self-portrait work is like, I just want people to understand what it's like being non-binary. And so, like, my drawings, like the hair, eyelashes, the moth that's like coming out of my mouth. I'm trying to think, the one where I'm like smooshed up against the mannequin. Like, I want people to understand what it's like and how it feels. And I think there's a lot of people, especially in like the art community, that understand things better visually.
Right.
So I hope that in some way my self-portraits can somehow like have a like physical manifestation of how like queer people live and how we survive, and what it's like to be queer, what it's like to be fat and non-binary, what it's like, all the things that I experience as a person, like what those things are like. I hope that my self-portraits can like somehow make it click for some people, and people understand like the experience of what being non-binary is. And I just hope it just makes people understand non-binary people more.
Right. Well, I mean, if at the very least it's a talking point, your work. Yeah. So it's like it starts that conversation, which is where, but I think on a just it's your work. It's so well done that it's in a way, it's like, even if it doesn't communicate the idea to the viewer every time, it's still starting that conversation, and that and learning about what the piece is about is going to start the whole thinking process and learning about it. You know what I'm saying? So it's cool that but that's kind of how I that's sort of what I think it's all about, really, is that you make the art great, you make it weird and striking, and you may not know what it's all about, but then you go to learn about it, and then that's, you're drawn into this thing from this weird, cool, striking image, and then you start learning about it that way. You start understanding it. So it's awesome.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I guess I should talk about the grant thing that happened. Yeah. I probably should have said it earlier in the podcast. I just didn't even think to bring it up. But so I did this giant piece, which Chet will attach in the in
That'll be it, yes.
the photo set. So I did this 5-foot self-portrait, and I entered it into an international art competition that's based in my city. And I got in, and I found out that they had an artist equity grant for marginalized artists. So I decided I would apply for it for this piece to cover the cost of framing. And I got a quote back from my framer, and it was going to be $2,000. So I applied for like a little over $2,000 to cover it. So I remember we were having my mentorship meeting that day that I got the email that said I was awarded the $2,000.
Right.
So I was like, okay, great. I've got I'm gonna get this grant. It's amazing. But it was part of getting the grant for this competition is that I had to secure a venue to exhibit in for the competition. So the way this particular international art competition works is that artwork is spread into different businesses around the whole city. So it's kind of like a scavenger hunt. And so tourists come in and they go to all these different local businesses. They see the artwork. Typically they'll spend money at the businesses. So it's good for like tourist economy and like for an art competition as well, which is great. It's cool. So part of me being awarded the grant was that I had to get a venue, but because of COVID, a lot of local businesses decided, or like a lot of businesses and art galleries and things that would normally have submissions open for artists or like would be able to handle larger works, were not allowing artists to submit to their space or were limiting how much art they would have because they didn't want to have a bunch of random tourists from outside the city coming into their business, spreading COVID all around, which I do not blame anyone for.
Right.
So part of that was that there were a lot less venues for a lot of artists this year, and there was a lot less venues that could handle large work. So even though I submitted to like 20 or 30 venues, I think, I unfortunately did not get any venue to allow me to exhibit in their work or to exhibit in their space. And unfortunately, because of that, I lost the grant. So right now I have a GoFundMe up because I still have to frame this piece.
Yeah.
So I have a GoFundMe up.
It's a big ass piece. It's huge.
It's 5 feet tall, so it's ginormous. And my framer was super cool, and they said that with it was like museum or Optium Museum acrylic, it was going to be like $2,000, which is, I totally expected that, but obviously I'm a freelance artist, and I'm just on my freelance journey, so. So if anyone would like to help and share my GoFundMe, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the description with all your other links. But just for people listening, if they want to go and help out, how would they find it?
I think I have it on in my link tree on my Instagram and TikTok, but I'm pretty sure it's just I think the URL is GoFundMe.com/help Kaylee frame their art or something. Mm-hmm. But I'll send you the link. But it's help. I think the title of it, I put help non-binary artists frame their art or something like that. Right. So yeah. So
good.
That's my sad story of how I was and then lost grant funding.
Yeah, but you got, your people are helping out. You're a good, well on your way to getting the $2,000. So hopefully, when people hear this, they'll donate. I donated. Everyone should donate. I do want to go back. We're going to have to wrap it up because we're over 2 hours now, and I'm dying in this office because I had to turn the air conditioning off.
Oh, my God.
And it's hot here today. But I did want to go back to what we were saying first before we wrap it up. We're talking about just exposing people to basically new ideas about what it is to be, a human in a way they don't understand, and how it's fear-based. People not being into it because of fear. I think the reason why people were able to get over the gay thing is because when it was shown to people what it's like, what it feels like to be gay, you realize that it's like, oh, I feel that way too. Even like the straight white dude, the Joe, whatever, the most mainstream person, they feel that way too. That's the thing that drives me nuts. Is like everybody feels this way. Everybody feels this way. Just by being a human being, you feel separate from everybody else. You feel disconnected. You feel insecure, and it's like, so many people are playing this game like they don't, and they've got it all going on. They've got the good job and the car, and they fit in with everything. They do all the normal things, and it's like, when you hear a non-binary or transgendered person's experience, and how it, like you said, how it feels, which is what you're doing with your artwork. They'll get it, and they'll be able to go, my point being is that we all feel this way to some degree.
Yeah.
I think about something, just being in this reality. I think it's kind of inherent. Being a human being, just being alive, is that, sense of separateness, and everybody's got insecurities about something. Everybody. And so once the stories come out and people can listen to them and understand them, it's like, oh, this is just like me. I feel this way. So why am I upset about this? What's the problem here? There is no problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So it's really, the struggle for, the struggle for civil rights of all marginalized people is really like the struggle for every person to feel okay in their own skin.
Yeah.
And it's sort of like folks like you have been burdened with throwing it in their faces, shoving it down their throats, because it's a mirror in a weird way. It's like it's the same thing. We're all struggling with it. Obviously, everything's falling apart everywhere. Nobody is secure in who they are and where they're at, or not most people, so.
Well, and there's a ton of people too that, like, I hate to say this like in this way, but there's a ton of people that are like closeted, and there's a lot of people who feel like they can't come out, and so there's a lot of people who like throw that back at the queer community, because there's a lot of people who are like upset that they feel like they can't
do it, so why should you be able to do it? I can't do it,
which that's not everyone, obviously not, but there are definitely a lot of people that have that sort of like internalized homophobia, or like internalized, transphobia, whatever it is, because they're upset that someone else is living the way that they wish they could. And a lot of that sometimes is like people just don't live in like safe situations, and people can't come out, which is like, obviously it makes sense why you wouldn't. But there's obviously a lot of people too that can come out, but they don't for some reason, because they want to like keep up a facade of, the wife and 3 kids, or, whatever it is. So I don't know. It sucks for those people too. But that again, that like, that's a painful thing that, how would it make you feel if you couldn't be, open about being trans, or you couldn't be open about being gay, or, that sucks for those people.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. That's another benefit to just the bringing it out into the open, is that it makes it makes it more safe for everybody, really, to come out and I don't know. It's so stupid. I'm so disappointed in the human race sometimes.
Yeah.
It's like, really, this is where we're at. It's 2021 and we're afraid of people because of the color of their skin or who they love or how it's like, this is fucking kids stuff.
Yeah.
It's so stupid. It's just like, it just drives me nuts. It's so, to get hung up on something so dumb.
Yeah.
But
too, there's just a lot of people who they don't have friends that are queer, or they don't have
that's
friends.
what I'm saying. They don't have a way to understand it. So it's like, you can't get too down on them about it, because it's like they just don't know.
They just don't get it. But I think there's also there's such a free flow of information nowadays. Literally, go on TikTok. You will learn so much shit about.
Oh, my granddaughters! It's like half the stuff they talk about are LGBTQ rights. They're so supportive. They have shirts. Rainbow. They're like so into it because of TikTok.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
I think there's just so many resources nowadays that you could literally Google what's it like being a non-binary person, and fucking articles would probably, So I just think there's such a wealth of information nowadays that, not that there's no excuse, but I think just go out to art shows, go out to different things, meet people in different ways of life, than what you live. I all the time I didn't have any friends that were sex workers for a really long time. And then I started meeting sex workers and people who were strippers and stuff. And now half of the fucking characters that I draw are sex workers and strippers.
Right.
You know what I mean? But the reason why I feel comfortable doing that is because I feel like I do a good job listening to my friends who are strippers, who tell me this is what it is for us, this is the safety things we have to worry about, these are the things we have to do our job,
right.
I think it's just you got to listen to different communities that you yourself are not in, and then you also have to support those communities, so because you want to learn and you want to grow as a person, so it's all very important. Yeah.
Excellent. Oh God, I was gonna say something.
Oh no.
I do. It was a good point. Well, it's
strippers, sex workers, marginalized communities.
Oh yes. Have you watched the channel Soft White Underbelly on YouTube?
No.
Holy shit! It's amazing. It's this dude. It's this dude. He interviews people on Skid Row.
Okay.
He's a photographer. He started interviewing, for everyone listening to, you got to check it out. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. And he just interviews all marginalized people.
Awesome.
And doesn't judge them at all. He just asks them about their lives basically and lets them talk. He interviews strippers, prostitutes, crackheads, non-binary, trans people. Most of them come from the area, Skid Row. So they're got crazy stories.
Yeah.
Meth addicts, heroin addicts that are live a normal life and they're heroin addicts that are just strung out. Everybody. And it's and he's got hundreds of videos and it's so amazing. Pimps. He interviews everybody without judgment, and it's it's so amazing to hear their stories. It's aside from it just being fascinating and interesting, it also is it makes you understand You know, why so many? Why people? How they get homeless? I mean, that's just like an aside.
Right.
But there's so much. It's incredible. It's incredible. I can't stop watching it. It's like it keeps coming up in my recommended videos on YouTube, and every time I'm going to watch a minute of it, I end up watching like the whole 30 minutes of it because it's so interesting. Gangbangers, and just it's such a trip. It's like the people that never get interviewed is what it is.
Wow. Yeah.
You know, and it's awesome because he just totally doesn't judge them at all. It's like he's just interested. So Soft White Underbelly, you love it.
All right, I wrote it down. Well, I have before we wrap up, I have a quick recommendation for people too. If you are in the dark art society, you like dark, weird shit, and you want to know more about like the dark, weird side of drag, watch Dragula. It is a show by the Boulet brothers, who are like a drag duo. I would say it is like Fear Factor and RuPaul's Drag Race had a baby. It's so fucking weird and crazy and awesome. And it's goth drag. It is queer and goth and freaky, and it's fucking awesome. So if you want to know more about like the goth side of drag, watch Dragula. And actually season 4 is going to come out in October. So new season, so get caught up on the first 3 seasons before season 4 comes out, and it's all going to be on Shudder actually.
Oh, excellent. Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, so totally watch Dragula. It's fucking rad.
Cool.
It's amazing. So, yeah.
Excellent. All right. You got our recommendations now.
Yes.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming on the show. It was so excellent to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure we'll have you on again at some point because you really your career is just beginning. So I imagine I would love to have you back on.
Yeah.
After you've had more shows and got this thing going. I've said it from the beginning since we did the mentorship. I know you're going to be successful. Just not even a question in my mind. So,
thank you, Chet.
Yeah, you got it all. You got it all, and you're doing it. So that's
so we gotta have the looks, the brains, the beauty in this family. Yeah.
You got it all. I'm telling you.
We can't all be smart and gorgeous and amazing. Yeah, that's right with the hair flip.
Shaking my hair.
We'll work on it.
It'll look better in slow motion.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, so thanks again. So let's say goodbye. Oh no, give your links real quick. I'm going to put them in the description. Just for people listening that don't want to look, just tell me real quick your links.
Okay, so I'll be quick. So on Instagram, I have 3 Instagrams and 3 TikToks.
Marketing nightmare.
Yeah. So, okay, on Instagram and TikTok, they're the same for each. So my drag Insta and TikTok is mannequin drag artist or like mannequin drag. For illustration, my Insta and TikTok are Decayly Shop. And then on Insta and TikTok for my fine art, it is Noni K Britton, but you can just call me K Noni. I don't really care. Yeah, and then I also have a Twitter and a Facebook, but those obviously I just dump everything onto because I'm not about to have 3 Twitters and 3 fucking Facebooks too. So
how about YouTube? How about your YouTube channel?
Yeah. So I do have YouTube, and that has stuff like literally all the way back to like 2010 or something on it for my shit in high school. Cool. And that, I think it's just like youtube.com/KayleeBritton0809 or something, back in the time when my fucking username, like I can't change my username now, unfortunately.
So everyone can get there from one of your Did you say you have a link tree on one?
Yeah, I have link trees in the bio of my Instagram. So if you can't find it, like if you can't just like search it, I'm sure you can find it in my link trees. So
cool. All right.
Yep.
Excellent.
Yeah. So that's pretty much everything. And then I have, like I said earlier, I have that GoFundMe. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, we're going to put all those links. It's a lot of links. We're going to put them all in there.
Yeah. You're like, wow, this is the most links we've ever had.
That's another first. It's another first. There's
Oh my god!
so
I'm
many
just
firsts
setting
today.
records.
There were so many firsts today.
Yes.
Oh my god. Okay, so we have to do it. Let's say goodbye to the audience. Okay.
Ta-ta. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, audience.
Bye-bye, audience.
Shit, I just hit the microphone.